40% of the budget, the provincial budget in New Brunswick, it's money coming from the equalization money from Ottawa. 40% of the budget in New Brunswick, it's money coming from the equalization money. So she said, do you know that? I said, yes, I know that. So she said, I want to understand. You're here in New Brunswick, you want to have support, and you're telling people in our province that you will cut their provincial budget by 40%. Are you serious? I said, yes, I'm serious. Yes, we'll do it. And she said, oh my God, yes. Yes, I'll do it. And why I'll do it? We'll do that on a transition period first. Second, I said, because people in New Brunswick are proud. They want their province to be richer, and we must change that equalization formula to give the right incentive to your premier in New Brunswick to have the right economic policies at the provincial level. And I said, I'm not the only one who said that. Your new premier said yesterday, it was last week, said last week that he wants Ottawa to cut the equalization money to his province. And it's very courageous for him. And I applaud that. I'm very happy with that. We must have that debate. But the other politicians, they're too afraid to have that debate because they think they won't have vote in New Brunswick. But when I explain that to people, they understand, they're proud. And you know, I had a conversation with some business people in New Brunswick, and they need to develop their natural resources, like shale gas and other kind of gas. But they cannot because the New Brunswick government does not allow that, like in Quebec. So there's no incentive to develop their own natural resources. But we are the only party to speak about that. When I said that in Calgary and in British Columbia and in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, they understand and they said, my God, it's the solution. Yeah, it's the solution for having a country that will be with policies that will be fair for everybody. So that's our position on equalization. But same thing also on pipelines. We need to be able to build pipelines in this country in 2019. And we have a solution for that. We can use the Constitution. We can use a section in our Constitution, 9210. And that will be able to say that an infrastructure like a pipeline, it is for the national interest of our country. And when you use the Constitution and you say that, you have the 100% the jurisdiction and the responsibility to approve pipeline. And everybody knows in my own province in Quebec that it's safer to transport oil and gas by pipeline. It's safer for the environment. It's safer for the population. And actually, we had a huge tragedy in Lac Mégantic in Quebec 6 years ago. They understand that. So I said, if my own province in Quebec or in BC, they're against that, they don't have the authority to approve a pipeline. We can impose, yes, impose after consultation, a pipeline on Quebec or BC. Because if you use the Constitution, you have the full power to approve it. And our goal is to be able to have an agreement with provinces. But if not, we must use the Constitution to be able to build a national infrastructure. And actually, we use that section, 9210, more than 300 times since the Confederation. But we are the only party to say that. So let's have the real debate about what it is important for this country. Another subject that is very important, it's the immigration. I think it's important to speak about that. You know, Justin Trudeau wants to increase the immigration and our new Canadians by 40%, from 250,000 a year to 350,000 a year next year. But only 9% of the population agree with that. Only 9%. But 49% of the population want fewer immigrants. But all the other political parties, the NDP, the Green, the Conservative, the Bloc Québécois in Quebec, the Liberals, everybody, it's always more and more and more. So our position on immigration, I think it's very rational one and reasonable one. We want to go back to the average of the number of immigrants that we had under Stephen Harper, about 250,000 a year or less. Our immigration system must be there to fulfill our economic needs for our country. We need, thank you. Common sense, it's a common sense proposal, and we need to have the courage to debate that. The first time I spoke about it, people were, oh, maybe this party, how come you're against immigration? We're not against immigration. And we're not for mass immigration also. We just want fewer immigrants, and we want these people that are coming to our country, we want them to share our Canadian values. That's, I think, that's what... I'm always, it's our platform, so I'm here, I'm saying that. I'm in Quebec, I'm saying the same thing. But you're right. The people who came here the last 50 years, they came here for the right reason. They came here under a sustainable immigration system. They came here to share our Canadian values, to be part of our society. They believe in the rule of law. They believe in equality between men and women. They believe in freedom. They believe in personal responsibility. They believe in the Western civilization values. So we need to have this debate right now, because I don't want our country in 20 years to be like in Europe or to be like France or Belgium when they have huge challenges. And it's the immigration debate. It's also in line with the extreme multiculturalism in our country. Justin Trudeau and all the others, they always want to promote the difference, the diversity. And Justin Trudeau said, diversity is our strength. And I'm saying it's not true. It's what unites us that is our strength. And it's important to celebrate what unites us. I'll give you an example. If it's the Chinese year, if some Canadian that from China, for me they are Canadians, if they want to celebrate their Chinese year, they can do. We're in a free country. But I don't want the government to spend money to promote celebration like that for every identity. We must celebrate what unites us. We're all together. But what's happening right now with that multiculturalism, we are celebrating, and the state and the government is paying for that, every different ethnicity or any different group that want to celebrate something. So I want to, first of all, being sure that we are celebrating our history. We are celebrating our culture. We are celebrating what unites us. And it's like that you build a strong country. And I think Justin Trudeau and all the other ones that doesn't want to speak about multiculturalism, they're wrong. We need to have this debate. And that's part of our platform also. Actually, when I spoke about that, it was in August last year, before starting the People's Party. And Andrew Scheer said, oh, Maxime Bernier is not speaking for the Conservative Party of Canada anymore. And we don't agree with him on his position on multiculturalism. We don't believe that it's extreme what we're doing in this country on that. And that's why, a couple of days after that, I decided to resign from the Conservative Party of Canada because they didn't want to speak about what it is important for us. So let's have this debate right now, and I think we'll have this debate in the next election. And yes, when I'll be at the debate with Justin Trudeau and Andrew Scheer, I will ask this question, and I will speak about what I believe. I don't try to please everybody. That's the problem with the political correctness in this country. I have a dream, and like a politician, I want everybody to like me, I want everybody to vote for me, but that won't happen. That won't happen. So I'm not in politics to please everybody. I know that if you're doing that, you'll end up pleasing nobody. So I prefer to speak about our values, to speak about our conviction, to speak about our principle, and try to convince people that we have the best ideas. But that's why political correctness, it is an issue in this country. We have freedom of religions, freedom of thought, freedom of speech. We need to use our freedom and to speak back to these people who doesn't want us to speak about what we believe. And I think it's important. But traditional politicians, they're afraid. They're afraid of the mainstream media. They're afraid. They want to please everybody. And so they don't have any conviction anymore. I'll give you an example. Andrew Scheer said, it was in last December, and he said that again January this year, that the Conservative Party of Canada right now, it is a centrist, pragmatic, political party with lots of ideas for a lot of people. That is, quote, translation. I don't have any ideas, so tell me what you want to hear, and I'll tell you that I believe in that. No principle. No principle, no vision for our country, just pandering, pandering, pandering. And I won't play that game. I prefer to speak about what we believe. And yes, when you start a new party, you build that brick by brick, and at the end we'll be successful. Maybe we can be in government in 6 months from now. Maybe we'll be in government in 4 years from now. But for us, the most important, and that's why I like what I'm doing, it's my best time in politics, no compromise. No compromise. If you like what I'm saying, perfect. I hope you'll vote for me. If you don't like what I'm saying, you have a lot of choice. You can vote for all the other parties. It's up to you. So that's very important. And I like Margaret Thatcher in UK when she was running to be premier, prime minister. She said in a debate that, she said she doesn't like the word consensus. Because for her, when you do a consensus on your principle, you're not doing a good thing for your society. And she preferred the word conviction. And she spoke with conviction and with passion, and she was able to be in government, and she did a lot of reform in UK. And I want to be like that, speaking about conviction with passion, and telling people that we, at the People's Party of Canada, we believe in people. We believe that you have the right, you have the dignity to do what you want to do in your own life, and to decide your destiny. You don't need a big fat government every time to tell you what to do in life. You don't need a big fat government to regulate you in every day of your life. So we need to have a smaller government in Ottawa, and a government that will respect the taxpayers, that will respect Canadians. And that's why I'm very happy, because I'm doing what I like, to speak about our Canadian values and to have policies in line with that. And it's going very well. Step by step we'll be there. And I can tell you that you won't see me pandering to any special interest group. And I will just give you an example of that. When I was running for the Conservative Party of Canada, as you know, I didn't win with 49% of the vote. It's okay. It took me a year to understand that the establishment at the Conservative Party of Canada didn't want to take any of our ideas, because the platform of the People's Party of Canada right now is the same platform that I put forward when I was running for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. That's the same idea, but it took me a year to realize that the Conservatives were not ready to take some of our ideas. They were too bold. And Andrew Scheer, is too busy right now to do polling and survey and to look at what he believes in. They don't know what they believe in. So I quit, and before quitting, I ran for the leadership. I didn't win, but we had a couple of debates at that time, all the candidates. And so I received a call from a Muslim organization in Toronto. And they called me, the Conservative Party of Canada candidates, and they said, Mr. Bernier, you're the only candidate that didn't come to visit us. And all the other candidates came. We have a lot of questions. If you can visit us. We have a couple of questions, and we are asking the same questions to every candidate. So, if you want to come and answer our question, because we have 15,000 Muslims that are part of our organization and are also members of the Conservative Party of Canada. So we'll put on our website all the answers from every candidate. So if you want to come, you have an opportunity to speak to 15,000 of our members. I said, okay, I'll be there. I went there. They asked me the questions. And at the end, the last question, the lady, it was a lady, she stopped and she looked at me. She said, Mr. Bernier, you can take time to answer that question. It's the most important question for our membership. That will be the question it's the last one, but that will be the question that our membership will go and look at to decide for which candidate they will vote. If you're not able to answer right now, you can go back to Ottawa and write your answer back to us. If you want to take some time and stay here to think about your answer, you can have 15, 20 minutes and to think about it. I said, my God, what is the question? She said, what you will do for the Muslim community. I said, that's the question? I said, yes. I looked at her and said, nothing. I'll do nothing for the Muslim community. I'll do nothing for the Jewish community. I'll do nothing for me. For me, you're Canadians, and I'll do everything for you as a Canadian. And that's easy to say that. And the lady looked at me and said, oh my God, I never heard an answer like that. But I told her, you're a Canadian, so my platform is good for you. We're going to lower your taxes. We're going to end corporate welfare. You will save $500 every year because we're going to abolish the cartel in dairy, poultry, and eggs. This is our platform for every Canadian. And that's what we are, the People's Party. We are doing politics differently. And there's a risk. There's a big risk, yeah. Starting by myself in my own riding. I have 5,000 dairy, poultry, and eggs producers. 5,000 in my riding. But in a riding, usually you have 90,000 voters. So I'm starting at 85. But my goal is to convince more people than the 5,000 that won't vote for me, because it's the right policy. We are the only country to have a socialist system in that. And the Conservative Party of Canada, they're supporting that cartel. Who put that forward in the beginning? Pierre-Elliott Trudeau. More than 45 years ago, and they're supporting that. And they're supposed to be conservative. I prefer to work with 37 million Canadians instead of 19,000 producers under supply management. I won't work for a cartel. And so, what I'm telling you, if you, for once, you must vote for what you believe in. You must vote for your values. You must not vote against something. You must vote for something. And that's our challenge for this year and the next election, to speak to Canadians and telling them, for once, vote for yourself, vote for your own values. We are, at the People's Party, there for you. And it's not, I'm not saying that because, maybe it's popular, it's not. We don't believe in polling. I won't spend any money in polling and focus group and things like that. Right now what's happening, if you're a politician, they will do a focus group because they don't have any ideas, they don't know what is Canadian values, so they will do a polling and okay, that's important, they will speak about that. But also after that, and the Conservative and the Liberals are doing that, they will do a focus group to know which words they must use to convince you. So not only the idea, that's why when you're listening to a politician and somebody asks a question to a politician, you listen to the answer and say, what was the answer? They won't answer because it's all code. They can use that word, and if you don't use that word, so it's all focus group, it's all, for us, we're telling what needs to be said with conviction, with passion, and I think that's the only way to win an election. It's the only way to have real change in this country. If we want, abolish the cartel of supply management, we must to speak about it before the election, during the election, and after the election. And I know that when we'll be in government, we'll have some people who will protest in Ottawa. And that's okay, because we'll have the legitimacy to do our reform, because we'll have a mandate on that. So immigration is important, and also right now foreign aid. We know that, and it's part of our platform, and we have the courage to say that. We want to balance the budget in 2 years. But the question is, how are we going to do it? If you want to balance the budget, you must cut some spending. Yes. We're going to look at foreign aid. We can save $4 billion there. It's not the role of the federal government to spend $2.3 billion to fight climate change in Africa. Do you really believe that African dictatorship will use that money to fight climate change? It's not the role of the government also to put $250 million in a development bank in China, managed by China, to build pipelines in China when we cannot have pipeline in Canada. It's not our role. So we can save a lot of money, but we need to be there as a country. If there is a humanitarian crisis or environmental disaster, we'll be there. But not to build road in Africa, not to build pipeline in China, not to help China to be more efficient, to help other countries, because the development bank run by China, it's part of Canadian money, but who decides for the project? It is the Chinese government. And actually, they're not so kind with us right now, and we're just saying to the door. So I don't believe to put all that money in foreign aid. And there's the UN also. I said that the UN is a dysfunctional organization. When you have countries like China, North Korea being in charge of the Human Rights Committee, it's a little bit dysfunctional. So we can save some money over there also. And I was the first leader to say no to the migration compact. And but it was so popular as a position. But for us, we didn't do that because, we think it would be popular, so we'll take no. It's against our values, and we need to control our immigration law here in Canada. And I don't want a bureaucrat from the UN telling us what to do. We are a sovereign country, and we need to control our immigration. But I must admit, Trudeau signed the compact, And he said to us, it is not binding. It is not binding. So why signing something if you won't do what they ask you to do? So yes, we won't have a civil servant bureaucrat from UN coming to Canada to write our legislation on immigration. It will be the Canadian bureaucrats that will write our law, our immigration law, following the UN principle. So we need to do that here by ourselves, and that's why we need to have the debate on immigration. But when I said that we must not go on that road and we must not sign the migration compact, 3 days before Justin Trudeau signed the compact, who said, I agree with Bernier? Andrew Scheer. Because he had time to do polling. And he saw that it was very popular, so I will jump in that wagon, I will jump there, and but that's not by conviction. It's only because it was popular. So we need to change the way that we're doing politics, and that's what we're doing. So we can balance the budget and save money with foreign aids and the UN, but also if we want to balance the budget in 2 years, we need to find more place to cut. Another one is CBC. Yeah. We want the media to be independent. We want the media not to be dependent from the government. So what the Trudeau and the Liberals government are doing, they want the media to be more dependent from the government, and they will choose which media will have money or not. Right. If you're not profitable, a media corporation or not any other corporation, there's something for you in our legislative framework in Ottawa. If you're a corporation that is not profitable, we call that the Bankrupt Act. You can go bankrupt, and that's it. We're not there to help special corporation or media, so we want the media to be really independent from the government, and that's why we can save some money there. The government is giving $1.2 billion a year to CBC. Our reform is we will cut the budget, we'll ask CBC if they're so good, they will be able to have some fundings from their viewers like PBS in the state. So that's one of our reforms. But yes, cutting to be able to have a smaller government and balancing the budget. But we must reinvest in our own responsibility, in our own jurisdiction, like defense, like for our veterans. Yeah. So yes, we must reinvest there. And I can tell you that we'll come with a platform on our national defense, and one of our commitments is to invest 2% of our GDP in our national defense. It will be tough to do that in the first budget and in the second budget, but that will be a commitment in our first budget, and every year we'll increase the amount that we are spending for our national defense. Actually, right now we're spending about 0.6% of our GDP, so we need to increase that. So that's why we need to do the other reform. We need to privatize Canada Post. We need to abolish the CRTC in telecom. We need to... So we need to do all these reforms that will help to have a smaller government, that will save money, and will be able to reinvest in our own jurisdiction like defense, but also will be able to lower taxes to every single Canadian. And we have a proposal for that. We want to have only 2 tax rates instead of 5. One at 15% for people earning more than $15,000, and another one at 25% for earnings more than $100K. And for the poor, we'll increase the personal exemption at $15,000. So the person, actually right now it's about $12,000. So in Canada, if your earning is less than $12,000, you won't pay any income tax at the federal level. We want to increase that to $15,000. So it's a reform that it's fair for everybody, it's a reform that we can do, and we'll be able to do that because we'll do all the other reform. You know, $5 billion in corporate subsidies. We can save all that and using that to implement our fiscal reform. So that's why we have a coherent platform based on our principle. And if you want to know a little bit more, don't hesitate to go on our website, thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca. You'll see all our platform is over there. Actually, we are in the process right now to rewrite the platform because, like I told you, it's the same platform that I used when I was running for the Conservative Party of Canada, for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. So if you read the platform, you say, when I'll be the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, I'll do that and that and that. So it's the same idea, we just have to rewrite that, and we are in the process to do that, and our policy will be ready in a month from now. And you know, contrary to Andrew Scheer, we don't know his platform. Maybe we'll know a day. But for us, it's what we believe, it is what we will do, and that's why it is important to be there and speak to your friends and speak to your family, speak to your colleagues, tell them to go to see our website and to be informed, following me, following the party on Twitter, on Facebook. And so my goal is to do that and to travel across the country and to meet you, and we are building something. And I think it's more than a political party. I think it's a kind of a movement. If you look what's happening in different countries in Europe and also in the States, I think it is time to speak the truth and not being afraid. And yes, you cannot please everybody, but that's okay.